I spent 3 months and thousands of dollars to answer one simple question. Can you actually stop the brain rot? But when I ran a survey of over 1,000 people, I found something that nobody talks about. And I've been chronically online my whole life, really since a friend of mine got me into MySpace at camp. Damn you, Allie! And it's true, it's not 100% slop. For example, on X last year, I learned about a FinCEN guideline. This is actually pretty scary. They said that every LLC needs to register in their central database, otherwise you get 6 months in jail or a $10,000 fine per business. So yeah, glad I read that tweet. But 99% of the time, when I look back at what I actually retain, yeah, no, most of it's either useless or actively wrong. And it's causing real damage too, like fighting with my sister over some political talking point that honestly doesn't even matter. And after one particularly brutal fight, I decided I needed to find a way to stop this brain rot once and for all. So I started doing what any rational person would do. I went on YouTube and I probably watched like 50 videos, maybe 100. And they all said like delete this app or use willpower or just touch grass, surface level advice, and kind of saying that I was the problem. But since I can't fix myself, I had to look elsewhere. Books like Digital Minimalism or Indistractable, research papers on attention economics, I read all of this stuff, but I felt like they were missing the human element. There was a digital minimalism book club I went to, for example, and you'd think maybe out of these 20 to 30 people, someone would have a solution. But everyone there was mostly just venting, and we all just walked away with nothing. So did I give up? Nope. Basically, I just annoyed everyone I knew by interviewing them about their feeds. Thank you. Parents, friends, colleagues, everyone knows that they were wasting hours to the scroll, so no surprises there. Yet something just wasn't adding up. If the problem is known, then there should be a solution, right? So I stopped guessing and I started investigating further. I launched a nationwide survey and over 8,000 people responded. After filtering out the bots, speeders, and cheaters, I had 1,043 complete responses. But I wanted to be certain, so I isolated the very top, most thoughtful, most reliable individuals, and then these folks would be the basis of my research. They're really just like us, or at least anyone who uses social media or YouTube on the daily. And trust me, they are just as stuck scrolling as you are. I asked them the questions that these platforms won't ask. And when I put together all the results, it became clear that the problem is a little bit different than we've been told. Let's walk through exactly what I found in this research to get to the crux of the matter. Alright, so late last year, I'm coming off another scroll binge, and frankly, I feel like trash. And based on what all those YouTubers and self-help gurus were telling me, yeah, maybe I straight up just like trashy content. So that became my first hypothesis in this survey. Maybe we do all just like trash. Maybe we are the problem. First question. How important is staying up to date to you? And 314 people out of 771 said extremely important. And then another 304 said very. So that's 80% who are trying to get good info. Second question. How important is filtering out brain rot to you? And note, I'm defining brain rot as lies, clickbait, spam, etc. So I'm not actually using that phrasing in the survey. 79% said extremely or very important. So, okay, hypothesis rejected. People clearly do not want trash, since they are saying that getting information is critically important. But then it gets dark. I asked, how satisfied are you with actually doing the filtering? But on average, they were only somewhat satisfied. The greater the gap between importance and satisfaction, the more visceral that pain is for the user. But what does that gap actually mean? It's like the thing I care about most, not being lied to, is the thing that the feed fails at the most. With the feeds that are all brain rot clickbait these days, most of us are just overrun with that unverifiable content. The feed isn't giving us what we're asking for. It's giving us what keeps us scrolling. We all know that rage bait is extremely engaging. I remember having a friend over for barbecue. Next day on Twitter, I see something he retweets. I couldn't hold myself back from jumping into the fray, even when I knew it was rage bait. Truth? Nah, truth is boring. Truth makes you close the app satisfied. So my survey was proving that the algorithm learned. Serving you truth costs money, so it doesn't. Luckily, people don't give up without a fight. When the algo attacks, we fight back, or at least we try. So when I asked, what methods have you tried? 82% of people did say that they were using the built-in controls. Block, mute, not interested, or hide this post. I'm sure you've used plenty of these tools too. They're out there every day doing the work the platforms refuse to do. But when I asked how successful were those methods, then only 5% of people rated the block button as extremely successful. 5.4%. For the other 95%, the block button was basically a placebo. It's like a steering wheel in a Tesla robotaxi. We're all driving around pressing these buttons, and when I ask how well is it actually working, most basically say, not really. Here we can see 43% didn't say it failed, they said it was somewhat successful. That word kind of haunts me, somewhat. It means I tried it, it helped a little, but the problem is still here. And when I dug into why it's only somewhat successful, I found something even worse. People aren't blocking once and then moving on. They're blocking constantly. They describe manually unfollowing a lot and curating every single day. These aren't users. They're unpaid janitors scrubbing the floors of a casino that never closes. We're like Wall-E, endlessly cleaning a feed that is designed to re-dirty itself. Modern doom scrolling is the Greek myth of Sisyphus. That 43% group of somewhats, they're not succeeding. They're trapped in a Sisyphean loop. So why does that Sisyphean loop even exist? Well, while I'm on this Greek kick, let me tell you about what I'm coining the Hydra effect. You chop one head off, two grow back. That's exactly what people were describing in this survey. They said things like, it didn't matter if I unfollowed, deleted, muted, or blocked. I'm still seeing it no matter how hard I tried. Or if you remove interests, X puts them back. You cannot filter content. Or the algorithm kept showing irrelevant content despite my attempts. My mom told me how she tried blocking politics on Insta. She mostly follows gardening, so it should be easy, right? Well, the algo weaseled her into these homesteader accounts. And sure enough, politics from gardeners. You block one rage bait account and the algorithm finds 2 fan pages to start promoting in your feed. Or if you mute a political keyword, it finds a synonym. That is the Hydra effect in action. And here's what happens after you fight with the Hydra for months. I looked at what are you doing right now to fix this? 13% left it blank or wrote one word, nothing. The other 87% still listing tactics, blocking, muting, ad blockers, all the stuff we already covered that barely works. I found this pattern in the write-ins, people describing hopeless, frustrated resignation, almost like acceptance of the suck. They said, Facebook cannot be trusted. We are not customers, we are the product. You cannot filter out content. There's no way to get around it. This is the natural endpoint when you fight a machine that owns the battlefield. They write the rules, they profit when you're stuck. But there's actually a glimmer of hope buried in the data. At the end of the survey, I proposed some ideas of my own. And the top upvoted answer was 89% of people wanting automatic repeat offender blocking. And the second most popular idea was that 87% wanted manual repeat offender controls. So basically, 9 out of 10 people are saying, stop letting the same accounts spam me over and over. Now, this is not complicated technology. Gmail figured out pattern-based spam blocking 15 years ago. You mark an email as spam, Gmail learns block similar senders. But But Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok, none of them are going to give you that power. You can block one account, but you can't say block every account that behaves like this one. And why not? Because if they gave you that button, you'd clean your feed in 60 seconds and you just wouldn't have to scroll any further. So the technology exists, but a tool does not. These platforms, they're not going to build it for us. Waiting for them is a fool's errand. All right, after 3 months and 1,000 responses, here's what the data is really telling us. First, if you feel like your efforts aren't working, you're not alone. Most people agree. Second, any solution you've heard to date, curate better, use willpower, delete the app, it just doesn't work, at least for most people, and definitely not permanently. Third, real solutions have to block the pattern, not just one account at a time. We need the power to say, stop showing me anything like this. That's what the platforms won't build. So I wish I could tell you, I did all this research and here's your one quick fix, but that would be lying to you, just like all those other influencers. But what I do know now is that a solution is possible, and these guys are telling us what it needs to look like. I'll be digging into this and other solutions in my upcoming videos. So if you struggle with doom scrolling on addictive brain rot, I'm your guy. Subscribe and comment with what you want to see next. Until then, I think it's time that we all go touch some grass.